when you're sitting literally 2 or 3 feet from Mark Henry and he starts talking about things that moved him emotionally, you can just feel this power that's coming from this guy.
So out of all the people that you've had on the Broken Skull sessions, what was the one thing that surprised you that you learned from one of your guests that you were like, really? You didn't know that?
I just think Mark Henry, I've learned something new from every guest.
Yeah.
But when I went down to Austin, Texas, and I just did an audio podcast with Mark Henry, when you're sitting literally 2 or 3 feet from Mark Henry and he starts talking about things that moved him emotionally, you can just feel this power that's coming from this guy. And he's such a great storyteller, and he has so much knowledge because, you know, he didn't come up having it real easy. So I guess that was probably one of my favorite interviews that I've ever done, feeling the power, not the physical power, but the power of Mark's just knowledge of being a man and being a stand-up guy. And again, I had him on the Broken Skull session, so it's like I'd already talked to him, but sitting across from Mark Henry is quite an experience because he has so much wisdom to offer, and he's been in a lot of tough places, and he's accomplished so much in the world of professional wrestling and in the sport of powerlifting and weightlifting. He
and I are scheduled to talk later this week, and I'm going to mention to him what you said. He's also a wonderful family man.
Oh man, he's articulate, he's eloquent, and he's class act. He's a class act. He's a role model for anybody.
Hello everyone, welcome to Sportskeeda and welcome to the Apter chat. And right now, it's time for the main event. Did you ever?
That's my gimmick.
I know.
That's my line.
Did you ever think, Mark Henry, that you'd become synonymous with that line?
Nope, didn't think of it, but I tell you what, man, like it's always a hustle to get something going, and I'm about getting over. I got over my whole career.
Well, I got to tell you something. The amount of cheers you hear even before you open your mouth up to say it, the anticipation of that is like Michael Buffer, you know, doing, and it's the Michael Buffer thing. Yeah, it's great. It's absolutely great. So there's a reason we were going to talk about something today, but before we get to it, there's something else I want to talk to you about. Very recently, in the last few days, I had a discussion here on the Apter chat with some guy named Stone Cold Steve Austin. You remember him?
Yeah, that guy, he's kind of famous.
Yeah, that's right, son. Bottom line. And I asked him, I said, out of all the podcasts he's interviewed people on and all the Broken Skull sessions he's done with people, who was the one guy that made the biggest impression on him? And he thought for a minute, you know, he's had all these mega stars on. And he said to me, Mark Henry. And I said, wow. And he said, he's articulate. He has true feelings. You can just feel the emotion coming out of Mark Henry and what a genuine human being he is. What would you like to say in regard to that? Because I know he'll watch this.
Man, like I've always loved and respected Steve, and I got to know him pretty well. And Steve comes a lot from an environment like I did. And when you come from a place of poverty and you make it, you tend to really gravitate to people that had the same struggle as you.
Yeah.
And I appreciate him because what he's seeing is looking in the mirror. We may not look alike. You know, we may not practice the same faith. We may not have the same everyday grind, but at the end of the day, we both struggled in here in Texas, came out of poverty, out of bad situations. I told him about my family and my upbringing. He went, wow, man, I can't believe that. Like, it's like we was running parallel lives. Yeah. So yeah, and he knows, Steve knows that I'm going to be honest. You know, it's a lot of people that they want to smoke and mirror and bullshit their way through life. Mm-hmm. And the only way that I've known people to love and respect me is for them to know my struggle and know where I came from. And I'm not shy about telling my story.
Okay. Yeah, it's a very moving story. I know about it, a lot about your life. All right. So just for the next short few minutes here, because Steve Austin, and I knew this about you for years, you're intelligent, you have a mind that loves this business. I want to do a scouting report on you on some of the top guys in AEW, the strengths and weaknesses that you see in some of the top guys in AEW. And start off with the current interim champion, Jon Moxley. Strengths and weaknesses.
I think Jon's strength is his ability to make everybody feel like, hey, I'm a normal guy. I'm you, you're me. I'm going to go out and represent us. That's his number one strength, that people love him and he's endearing to the crowd because they feel a part of his life, a part of his struggle, a part of his being a man going in the ring and battling another man. Every guy wants that toughness, and Jon shares that with the fans. Weakness, I think that Jon is so giving of his body that his career will not be 25, 30 years because he'll have to step away, because in the next 10 years, he'll be like, man, I gave my body to the business, yes, and now I'm going to spend the rest of my life with my family.
Okay. Let's look at one of the most unique people, and he's a veteran, but he keeps coming back younger and younger, and he's now the head of sports entertainment for AEW, Chris Jericho.
Chris Jericho's ultimate strength is Chris does not have a weakness.
Yeah.
He's got 2 songs in the top 30 on the Rock and Roll chart.
With Fozzy, yes, right.
He's one of the greatest wrestling storytellers and entertainers that we've ever seen. I think that Chris has moved into the top 5 all time. I mean, one place out of the Mount Rushmore of wrestling. Chris's weakness is the same as his strength. He's stretched out so thin. He's so good at so many things. Like, I hope Chris don't get burnt out one day and just say, you know what, I'm done. Like, he burns the candle so hard at both ends that I think that we're going to lose them faster than we need to.
Yeah, I hope not.
He really wanted to spend more time with his family. You hear him talk about every interview about being home. And I remember a guy that did that.
Mm-hmm.
And when your kids start crying when you leave and you start missing everything, then you tend to put everything else down. I hope that don't happen, but it's just my opinion.
Okay. One guy now who I want to talk about, who I would have loved to have seen you in the ring against, and that is Wardlow. He's strong. He's got so much going for him. What about Wardlow? Strength, weaknesses, and how would Mark Henry have done against him?
I think Wardlow is a unbelievable competitor, and he's going to be even better. The Wardlow that we see right now, in a best of 3, I think a Mark Henry might beat that guy.
Okay.
But in the next 2 years, Wardlow is going to be the most dominant force in pro wrestling since Brock Lesnar, since Goldberg, since The Rock, since Steve Austin. And then that guy is going to be, the best of 3 will be 3-0.
I noticed that the fans now are starting to do the Goldberg chants at him. Wardlow, Wardlow, yeah. So it's really picking up. Recently, another big guy has changed his whole career. Christian has taken Luchasaurus and made him a bad guy, as we say in professional wrestling. Positive.
You mean Luchasaurus?
Yeah, Luchasaurus, yeah.
I thought you said luchador.
Did I say luchadorus? I meant Luchasaurus.
But you were right what you said about him. He's made him a bad guy. And my mom always told me, if you think you can lay with dogs and not get fleas, then you're wrong.
Interesting.
And I think that him being around Christian is just a simple thing of him being around a dirty, flea-infested dog. And, you know, like that's the outcome. I hope in all good, honest faith that eventually he sees the light and gets away from Christian, because I like what I saw, but you can't deny the toughness that he's showing while he's under this Christian influence.
Okay, all right. Just a few more, because I know you're.
No. You have taken enough of my time.
Okay, well.
I've got to go and feed these kids.
I know.
No, you don't know.
Talk to us about Busted Open before we go. Tell us.
The day was Dave LaGreca's birthday.
Oh.
He got 3 hours of my time this morning.
My goodness. But do you love doing that show, don't you? I'm serious.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
It's a way to not only get things off your chest and show the world your level of understanding, but it's a way to promote the business. I always wanted to shed a really bright light on what I love the most, and that was pro wrestling. From the time I was 8 years old, I loved the business, and I didn't even know it as a business. I just knew that I loved professional wrestling.
Who was the guy? Wait. Who was at 8 years old? Who was the guy you had to see on TV all the time?
Oh man, Jose Lothario here in Texas. Man, he was a god, man. Chief Wahoo McDaniel. Then it elevated to Junkyard Dog, Ted DiBiase, and I used to watch Mid-South. So Ted DiBiase and Jake the Snake Roberts. And then WWF came into my world. And Hulk Hogan's and Andre's. Like, Andre was my guy, though. He was the good guy. He was the guy that, kind of proved the balance of the big man was what it was. I always wanted to be the biggest, strongest guy, and Andre was like the biggest, strongest guy.
You notice over there, Andre the Giant with Bill the Midget.
Oh my God!
Yes, many years. That was taken backstage in Houston, actually, at one of Paul Bosch's shows.
Yeah, that was my.
Thank you so much for your time. We'd like to do this again when you have a little bit more time, and thank you for your insight on the scouting reports here. And it's great to see you again.
Great, you too, Bill. You keep doing your thing, man.
Hey, 51 years already, and I'm only 26 years old. You figure it out.
Yeah, you got that shady math.
That's it. For Sportskeeda and the Apter Chat, this is Bill Apter and Mark Henry, and we'll see you at the matches.